What's up guys, it's Raymond, and in this video I want to talk about having a competitive nature. In other words, being competitive. A lot of people say that being competitive is wrong. My sister used to say she's never competitive and she avoids competing with other people. I guess she has her own reasons, which I'll describe in a second, but I feel that being competitive is innate in human nature and innate in animals in general, because at the end of the day we have to compete with other people for scarce resources. So I feel like it's very important to have a competitive nature. In my previous video, I talked about having an ego and the importance of having an ego when it comes to being successful and setting large goals for yourself. And I also believe that it's important to be competitive, because without all of these drives in our psyche, without having all of these drives, what can we rely on as human beings to drive us to move, to drive us to work, to drive us to commit a certain act? I mean, there's a purpose behind all of our actions. I mean, going to work in the first place, working for a paycheck, is to eventually expand yourself in a way that can allow your genes to be passed on. And I always make a reference to genetics and the survival of the fittest, a lot of Darwinist theories, because I strongly believe and strongly admire that theory in general. But anyway, besides the point, let's get to the meat of the bone. So why is it important to be competitive? Take for example in sports, the world of sports. Sports nowadays is $1 billion industry. Take for example basketball. Basketball is a competitive sport. What does that mean? There are two teams. Two teams face off to win, and the importance of competition in general in life is to win. So what do I mean by winning? I mean, winning means there's a prize at the end of it, at the end of the competition, and there's different prizes for different competitions. In sports, the prize might be a championship, a ring. It might be money. It might be whatever it may be. But in life, the specific goals and prizes I want to focus on today is economic resources. So in basketball, the prize, it might be a ring, or it might be a championship trophy, but not necessarily money. Money is a very, very powerful economic resource, which I've talked about in one of my previous videos, that can allow someone to be a more fit economic animal, which might allow them to pass on their genes and be more successful as a human being. So money is very important, and in terms of competition, the prize in life, there's many different prizes that are important, but in terms of competition, the rawest form of competition between human beings as animals in the primitive nature, in the primitive sense, when it comes to evolution and survival of the fittest, that we have to compete in some form of fashion in many different ways to be able to allow ourselves to be successful to an extent as to allow our genes to pass on to the next generation and the next generation. But ultimately, that is the most important reason why competition is so important. Unfortunately, this does mean that there are losers, just like there are in any sport. There are losers that don't get a championship ring, don't get a championship trophy, and don't get the recognition. They do get some recognition to an extent,